You are listening to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast, and this is episode number 32. This episode is brought to you by my brand new coaching program, The Launchpad, and you can check it out by visiting keepchasingthestars.com/launchpad. This program is only open for enrollment through Friday, September 7th. This 8-week coaching experience is all about helping you gain clarity, figuring out your next steps, and beginning to build a profitable business in a supportive and powerful community. So it's going to be super intimate. I'm only taking 8 participants. So if you've ever thought about working with me one-to-one, I invite you to check out the details and see if it's the right fit for you. Again, you can find that information at keepchasingthestars.com/launchpad. Welcome to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast with Monique Malcolm, a show about creative people leveraging their brilliance to create their own opportunities. I aim to show you what's really possible when you shut down the chorus of fear and lean into your genius zone. You can learn more about this show and subscribe for updates by visiting keepchasingthestars.com/podcast. Welcome to another episode of Pimp Your Brilliance. I'm your host, Monique Malcolm, and today I have another interview for you. Today's guest is Siobhan Sudberry, and she is the founder of BeFree Project. She's also my accountability buddy and one of my business besties. So I'm really excited to have her on the show today because I love supporting my people, and she is one of my favorite people to chat with and, go through this whole creative entrepreneurial journey with. But let me tell you a bit about Siobhan. She's a Clarity Cultivator and the host of the Girl Be Free podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, you might want to check it out. Siobhan teaches women how to get unstuck, gain clarity, and cultivate the life they deserve on their terms. She is passionate about empowering women and encouraging them to show up for themselves and take action. And in this episode, Siobhan and I talk about some of the hangups that women experience around putting themselves first, taking care of themselves, practicing self-care, and she shares with us 3 ways that you can begin to gain clarity around what it is that you want for your own life. So this is definitely one of those episodes that's going to make you stop and think and reflect about how you're showing up in the world. And so if you're ready, grab your pen and your notebook and let's jump in. Hey, Siobhan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You guys, I have Siobhan, and she's my accountability buddy. So there's that full disclosure. And I talk to her all the time. So this is going to be a really fun episode because it's already natural for us to talk. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to start recording like 45 minutes ago, and we've just been talking. So
Right.
That's pretty much the story of our interactions all the time. But Siobhan, they don't know you as well as I do. So please introduce yourself. Tell us about your business and how you make your living.
Yeah, so again, I'm Siobhan Sudberry, the founder of BeFree Project, and I teach women how to get unstuck, how to get clear about what you want so that you can cultivate the life that you deserve. I like to call myself a clarity cultivator because I'm all about getting clear about what you want, shifting your mindset so that we all can be free and live the life that we desire. You said, how do I make my money? So there's a number of different things that I offer. Every single month, I have something called the BeFree Meetup, where I get women together to talk about their purpose, their goals, and their ambitions in life. And it's really just a safe space for us to network and have engaging conversations. I also have a membership site called the BeFree Inner Circle, and it's basically I take my events that I have offline and now they're online, and I have a community of women all over the world that are building community, holding each other accountable, and then I'm able to coach them and give them resources that they need to grow. I also have products, and then I also am a motivational speaker.
Yay, so you do all the things. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do all the things. You're a clarity cultivator, but let's rewind and go back to the beginning. How did you get started? Like, why did you decide to create BeFree Project?
Yeah, so I was working in corporate America, very unhappy, dreaded going to work every day. I had been at the last company for 7 years, and what happened was the site closed permanently and everyone was laid off. And so when I got the news that the site was closing, I had like this aha moment where when the director had called me while I was registering my son for kindergarten, and he told me that the site would be closing that following October, and it was at that time it was August. And in that moment when I got the news, like I heard something very clear in my spirit saying this was your chance to take this was your opportunity to take a chance on yourself. And I felt like, okay, I want to do something more than just getting another job. I could easily do that with the degrees that I have, but I really wanted to do work that I was passionate about and that fulfilled my purpose. And so I had already been coaching without a title for years and years. And so when I had a conversation with a really close friend of mine, I was like, well, what do you think I should do next? And she was like, you should be a life coach. And I'm like, what is that? And so I Google it and I'm like, I do this every single day for free. Nobody has ever paid me anything. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. And that's what I did. So February of 2014, after taking like a 6-week boot camp course and doing a lot of self-discovery work and things like that, I launched a BeFree Project. And at that time, I was offering one-on-one coaching. And within like maybe the first month or two, I had booked 2 clients. One was in Ohio, one was in New York, and they both had booked a program for like $649 each. And so I was like, okay, then people are going to pay me for my services. And I've just been going full time ever since.
Okay, so I want to circle back and talk about taking this leap into life coaching before you're even ready, because by your standards, like you didn't even know what it was before you started. And you were just like, I'm going to give it a try and give it a go and see what happens. So like, walk me through that. Like, were you afraid? Did you do any kind of research to prepare? Like, how did you get yourself psyched up enough to like think, okay, I'm going to go for it, even though you weren't technically ready for it?
That's crazy because I've never been asked that question before. But I don't know, like when I was sitting in my car and when I got the news, and plus because I was already unhappy at work and I had been begging and praying to God, like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? And so I felt like in that moment, like, this is it. Like, you can get another job if you want to, but why not see if you can do something different? And so then when my friend confirmed like, oh, you should be a life coach, and then I reached out to other friends and I sent like maybe 5 to 7 people an email with very specific questions asking them, what did they benefit most from our friendship? What did they always come to me for? And it was some other questions in there too. And everyone said the exact same thing. You're very motivational. You're always positive. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you're going to follow up with me. And so I use that to say, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. And I figured like I can put myself out there, and if it doesn't work, I can always go back and get another job. But at least I tried something out of the norm. And that's it. Like, that's so crazy because now I'm going to have to think about this more. But that was it. Something in me said, you have to take a chance right now. And I guess another part of this was my daughter was transitioning into the upper elementary school that I did not want her to go to. And so I said I was going to homeschool her. And so I said, okay, I'm going to have this business on the side, or full time rather, and then I'm also going to homeschool my daughter. And this would just be a transition that we're just going to go into together. So it was like a little bit of all of that together.
All right. So it was like a little bit of leap before you're ready, a little bit of necessity, and a little bit of like, we're going to try it, and worst case scenario, it doesn't work, and then I'll just get another job.
Exactly. There you go.
You know, I bring that up to just highlight the fact that a lot of us don't even realize that we're going to build these businesses when we start to build them, and we don't have skills. We don't have a lot of things. Like the list of what we don't have is so much longer than the list of our haves. But we go into building these businesses with this idea of like, if you could just earn a couple of dollars, like we'll do that. And then, you know, fast forward some years later, you have a fully functioning business. But I think the important thing there is realizing that you can pivot if it doesn't work. You can change if it doesn't work. You don't have to get stuck on, I tried the business and it failed, and now you just do nothing. Like, you don't stop. You figure out something else. You go get another job, or you do something like that. You can still walk away and live your life. And I think sometimes we make out these leaps or these starts into a much bigger thing than we need to. And instead of just thinking about like, if it doesn't work, then we'll just go back to the drawing board.
Exactly. And I guess that was my mindset. Like, just go out and try it. And once I got that validation from my friends, and they didn't know at the time that that's what they were doing, but once I got that confirmation, and then ironically, like when I lost my job, there was this, like I said, this 6-week boot camp on how to launch your business. It was happening like within a few weeks after I had lost my job. And I'm like, okay, this is perfect timing. And it gave me everything that I needed to get started. And then once I completed that 6-week boot camp, I did like an email, and then I announced it on social media that I was officially in business. And I've just been growing ever since. So I really think it's just a decision that you have to make, and not being fearful of taking that step.
Exactly. So a lot of your work focuses around and revolves around empowering women. And you just mentioned you sent out these emails to a lot of different friends, and they kind of came back and said, like, here's what you helped me with. And it was across the board. Everybody kind of said the same thing. So is that why you focus so heavily on women? Because I know you personally, like specifically, you only really want to work with women. Is that why?
Yeah, so the gist of my business is more personal for me, because I was stuck for a very long time, emotionally and mentally, due to like childhood issues with my mother, and then feeling stuck in my job, like even after getting like the degrees and not feeling fulfilled and knowing what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? And so I felt so stuck. And so once I started doing a lot of self work, I'm like, I want to help women who also are in this place or in this mindset where they don't know what first step they should take. Like they know they got to this point in their life where they're unhappy and they're unfulfilled, and they know that it's more to life than going to work every day or being a partner or raising kids. Like there has to be more to it than that. And they want to feel fulfilled in some space and feel like, yes, this is the life I want to be living. And because I desire that so much for myself, the way that I position BeFree Project is to be that space where I'm helping women kind of look within and figure out, okay, what are some areas of my life that I'm not happy with? And where do I want to kind of shift so that I can be more fulfilled in this area? And after I work on that area, let me work on something else. And it's just like this ongoing thing. But it is very personal for me because I didn't have anything like this when I was in this space of feeling stuck. All I had was Oprah. And so now it's like, okay, well, let me help people where they're at and make it very simple and practical where you feel like, okay, I can do that. Like, oh, if she's saying all I need to do is like meditate for a few minutes a day just to start to be more mindful, let me try that. And then we'll build off of that and do something else and so on.
You mentioned something that I know you're very big on, and that is doing the inner work, doing the self work. How does somebody begin to do that kind of work?
Well, for me, it was journaling. I've been journaling since I was 14 years old, and it has always been like a sense of, I would say, therapy for me. And then not just journaling, but as I've been doing it for a long time, then taking steps moving forward. So for me, a lot of times I was writing about like I'm just so unhappy, and especially with the emotional stuff, right? And with my mother. So the first step for me was I needed to go to therapy and just kind of heal from some of the issues from my past that were really causing me to be stagnant in every area. And then from there I built on, okay, well, what do I really want? And so this may seem vain, but I used to have a lot of hair. Not as much as you, but I used to have a lot of hair. And it used to be almost bra strap length. And I was tired of detangling and all this jazz or whatever. And I'm like, I want to cut my hair off. And there's this quote by Coco Chanel that says, like, when a woman cuts her hair, she's about to change her life. And so I cut all my hair off. And so that was like more liberating for me. So going to therapy, cutting off my hair, and then starting to ask myself very specific questions. Well, what do you want? Like at the end of the day, what makes me really happy? And so I started writing those things down, and not just writing them down, but then putting them into action. So for example, if I said, running this business full time in a way that feels good to me. Okay, what does that really look like? Does that look like you need to make 6 figures, or are you comfortable with making this amount of money because you are able to have more freedom with your time and all that jazz? So I just really kind of look within and ask myself specific questions, and then I act on it. Does that make sense?
That makes plenty of sense.
Okay.
And I have only known you with short hair. I cannot imagine you with long hair. Like, I just feel like your haircut is your signature look. So I would be so shocked to see you with long hair.
I'm going to text you some pictures, but my hair is now my signature look because that is how people recognize me. And I do get recognized often, sometimes being out and about. And it's because my hair is red and it's curly and short. And, people like, oh, yeah, you're BeFree. Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about some of the common hangups that you see women facing in their lives because you mentioned like you started journaling, you were asking yourself the hard, important questions, specifically like what it is that you want. What hangups do you see women running into when they ask themselves those types of questions?
Fear. Fear. And look, they need your fear guide. Not that I'm just here to promote you, but they do, seriously. And I'm going to be telling my crew about it. But it's fear. Like they're so afraid of, well, what if this doesn't work? Or what are people going to say if I put myself out there and I don't do it the way that someone else envisions it, and then I'm a failure. And then it's also the lack of belief in themselves. Like confidence is huge. And depending on what you've been through, like if someone has crushed your spirit for so long, and then I come into the picture and I'm like, oh yeah, you're great, or you're amazing, or telling you you're bomb and all this stuff. But if you've been broken for so long, it's going to be very hard for you to believe that. So what I see most often is that fear, and that can be a fear of failure or a fear of success, and the lack of belief in themselves and having like the self-confidence to really take a step. And let me just say this because it's really important. When I talk about being free and living the life that you want, I am not talking about entrepreneurship. I'm basically saying that we all should live a life that feels good inside and out. So if that's being an accountant, a teacher, what have you, then you should be doing that. If that's running your own business, you should be doing that. If that's dancing or painting, somehow you should be incorporating that into your day-to-day life is how I see it.
Yes, 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 all of that. And you know what? Entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. So
Mm-mm.
even though my show is a business-based podcast, there's still other ways to run businesses, side hustles, and just extra pocket money. And, sometimes people just need tips on how to live their best life because it's not all like I don't live my entirety thinking about my business. I think about it a lot. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Me
But that's just
too.
the nature of having a business that you need to run, that you are really the face and like the driving force behind it. But that's not my whole life. Like I don't live to do my business. Like it's just a part of what I have to do to survive. And it's I'm not even gonna act like it's not important to me because it is something that I'm very passionate about. But we don't just live on this planet just to work, 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 and it doesn't have to be one type of way. So,
I agree.
that fear trap, though.
It's real. And even me, and we just talked about this maybe a few weeks ago, like running a business is hard. It's hard. And I just realized, but I'm working through it. So it's past now, but the fear of success, because when you have so much on you and the business starts growing, and what if you can't keep up with like the demand, or what if you don't meet other people's expectations as the business grows. So that's real for people, and not just a fear of success in your business, but also in your career. Like what if you get promoted and now you have more responsibilities and you feel like you can't manage it all. And so you automatically kind of talk yourself down before you can even make those next moves. You know what I mean? Before
Hmm.
you can even do that. Yeah.
I always think of it as like when those shifts happen, it's time to stand up and deliver. Like you know what you're capable of, you have to believe it, and you have to go forward. And this makes me think about something that I read. I really wish I would have saved this tweet. I read it maybe like a week ago, and it kind of references imposter syndrome. And the woman said a mentor told her that whenever she gets an opportunity that she doesn't feel like she deserved because maybe she's too early in her career or it happened, maybe she knew somebody else who was better suited to it, but she got the opportunity. The mentor told her, always earn it backwards. And what that basically means is if you get this great promotion and you feel like, oh, I really shouldn't have got this promotion. I'm not quite ready. I don't quite know all these things. Well, obviously somebody saw something in you. So now you go wow them. Like you earn that promotion backwards. You go do your work and blow them out the water. Like you already have the opportunity. Now deliver on it. And
Yeah.
I found that to be like it just resonated so well, and it was so empowering. And I'm glad I'm getting to say this because I've been wanting to like tell everybody this, but earn it backwards. Like
Yeah.
don't worry about what did you give me the promotion, like was I the right person to give it to? You got it. You got the
Yeah.
opportunity. So now take it and run with it and do something great with it. But a lot of times we just get stuck in this place of like, oh, well, can I do this? And why did you give it to me? I don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Take it. Don't don't
Yes.
don't insult the person by saying that you don't deserve the opportunity that they gave to you. Like take it and
Yep.
impress them.
Exactly. I like that a lot.
I'm so glad I got to share it. I've been thinking about this
Yes.
for like a week now. So let's talk about another topic that you are known for, and that is encouraging women to put themselves first. So why do you feel, because this is a thing that a lot of women don't want to put themselves first and they feel guilty and they have all these hangups around that. Why do you feel so many women hold guilt around putting themselves first?
I think it's the way that we have been taught to live, like from our parents and grandparents and things like that. And I see it all the time where if I tell women in like the Be Free Inner Circle, my membership site, like, hey, how are you going to practice self-care? And someone will say, oh, I don't have time for me today. No, 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 that's not acceptable. Even if you have 5 minutes to go for a walk or have your favorite cup of tea, like that is self-care. I don't think that you have to overthink and feel like you have to have this spa day. And the reason that I focus a lot on putting yourself first is because I didn't do it. So again, this is very personal for me. When my children were small, I was working full time. I was in graduate school, and I had two small children. And I felt so lost in my life, like I was just giving, 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 and I wasn't even pouring back into myself. I was a wife, I was a mother, I was an employee, and a grad student. And I'm like, there has to be more to life than this. And I'm like, this is not fair. The way that I'm just giving and I'm neglecting my own needs, and so I had to kind of put my foot down. And it wasn't anything that my husband ever said, like, here, you just take on all these responsibilities. It was something that I put on myself. So then I had to kind of reverse things and say, okay, what is it do I really want? Like going back to those questions that I had to ask myself. And I started spending more time on myself and doing things that brought me joy. Like if that was going into my room by myself just to watch my favorite TV show, that was okay. And I gave myself permission to do that. If that was launching this business and not going to work for someone else, I gave myself permission to do that. And I think we as women have to be more comfortable with saying, you know what, I'm going to do something for me and not being a people pleaser and helping everybody else, because you're going to look up and it's going to be like you're 30, you're 40, 50, or 60, and you've given all this to everybody else, and then you have nothing for yourself, and then you wonder why you feel stuck.
Yes. Yes. Did y'all feel that? Did you feel like the intensity of her voice when she said it? Like, I feel like you got mad a little bit.
Right.
So, what are some small ways that we can practice putting ourselves first?
I think we should put ourselves in our calendar. So using your planner or Google Calendar or whatever you use, and carve out one day per week where you're just doing something specifically for you. And I even before that, I would say, make a list of all the things that you enjoy just because you love it, right? And then take things off of that list and start to add them in your calendar. So every single morning I get up at 5 a.m. and I do this morning ritual. And a part of my morning ritual is drinking coffee. I love my coffee and I enjoy it. And the house is quiet. I don't have to hear my children or anything like that. And that is my self-care time. And they all know, like when my door is closed, you do not open it, because I'm more than likely, I'm meditating, I'm doing my ritual, I'm drinking my coffee. And so I think when we start to figure out what we enjoy, what we love, what is our type of self-care, adding that to your calendar and then actually like putting those things into practice.
Coffee. I used to love that 5 o'clock time and doing my morning ritual, but now I've convinced my husband to go with me to the gym. So that 5 o'clock time is like me dragging myself to put on my gym clothes so that we can go lift weights. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not as excited about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning as I was before that. But it's always nice to be able to get that morning workout in. You never really are angry about the workout that you did. So
Right.
there's that. Okay, so talk to me about some of the challenges that you have faced running your business.
Oh, we just got through talking about this.
I know.
Oh my gosh. You know what? One challenge right now, and I got to keep putting it out into the universe because I need to attract what I need, but not having help and not having a team. So I've been running my business for 4.5 years now, and I've been doing it all by myself, and I do a lot. And every time I run down the list of all the things that I do, people are like, "Whoa, you do all that?" In addition to homeschooling my children, being a wife, I have an aging grandmother. Like, there's a lot. And so the challenge is trying to get all the things done in any given day. And I am not the best at prioritizing things. So it's almost like, okay, this needs to get done. Okay, let me move to that. And then I'll come back to this. And I need a person. I need my person, like an admin assistant or something to kind of help me, because that is a challenge trying to do all the things. But I'm very passionate about the work, and it has to get done. So I would say that that's the biggest challenge right now, is not having a team to kind of pass things off on to.
Amen. And I can relate, these solo businesses, on one hand, there's a lot of pros, and it seems like the great way, like, I'm going to have this independent laptop living lifestyle, and I'll be able to work from anywhere, and it'll be great. And it is great. But there's also a lot of things that fall on your head when you are a solo based business, a lifestyle business, or a business that you are like the face of the brand. You wear all of the hats, and you do
Yes.
all of the things. And I know I'm a big person that says, like, well, outsource. But I'm going to be honest. It's hard to find good help sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
It's hard to find affordable help. And this is something that Siobhan and I were literally just talking about, because I was saying, sometimes you got to pay for what you want. And I'm totally down with like paying people for their services. But sometimes you realize, like, you just need somebody to do this one specific thing, but it's not like a thing that you want it to be a huge expense. For example, I had a podcast assistant earlier in the year, and I decided we parted ways. And so now I want to fully outsource the podcast, have somebody edit the show, and then have an assistant do all the uploading and scheduling and all of that stuff. So that way, all I'm responsible for is the recording, because this is the part of the show I can't outsource. I have to do the interviews because it's my show. Because I want to be able to do other things in that time. It takes me an entire day to edit, to record, edit, write show notes, upload, like all that stuff. By the end of the day, like, if I do a whole show in one day, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I'm done. That's a whole day that I lose in the week. So I want to outsource out pieces to other people. But when I express this to people who are like virtual assistants, things like that, the cost can sometimes be more than the podcast editor.
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, the work that I want you to do is like literally copying and pasting. Like, you're not creating any content. You're not proofreading. Like, you're not doing anything but copying and pasting these things to where they need to go, and then scheduling them to publish on time. And so that can be hard too, is like finding people who can do the work that you need at an affordable rate that makes sense for the level of work. Like, if I needed somebody to write a blog post, obviously I want to pay them a good amount of money because they're writing content. But if I need somebody to like copy and paste a blog post, I don't want to be paying them a ridiculous amount of money for that, because it's not really, specialized work. It's something I could probably make my son do. So it feels weird to say that, but it is true. This is a challenge that small businesses face, like trying to find help that works for them and that works for the other person in a way that's like fair and equitable.
Right. And I have had my share of people that have come in and out, and it's like, if I'm going to pay you this amount of money, I can do it myself, because it's really not that much that I'm asking, especially with the project that I'm working on right now. And if you're going to think, oh, because I see your brand online and you appear to be booming and all this jazz, oh, I'm going to give you the higher ticket price. Well, that's not fair. And so then I'm just going to dismiss it altogether and just continue to work on it myself. So I agree with you. Like, you want to have someone that can do these tasks, but not trying to charge you an outrageous amount of money for something that you can do in a short amount of time, and it's not going to take that much work.
Exactly. This is just keeping it real.
Yes.
All right. So at this point, you've run your business for 4.5 years. You've learned a lot. You've coached a lot. You've put on your own events. You have a podcast. You have your member site. Like you have a range of things that you've done in the last 4.5 years. What do you feel has been your biggest lesson learned so far on your journey?
I think, and this is something I just learned the other day, is to know my worth. Like sometimes because I'm in it and I'm doing it and I'm working it, I don't see BeFree Project the way that other people see it because it's my baby. But when I run into people in the streets, or at events and things like that, and they are like, one lady cried recently when she saw me, and I'm like, oh girl, please, no, I am just a human being and all that jazz. But like, knowing what I bring to the table and that I am influencing lives and making an impact and not, so that's one part of it. And then the second part is not to cheapen myself to make other people comfortable. And I've done that in many cases when it comes to speaking, just accepting what people will pay me versus feeling like, no, this is my worth and this is how much I want you to pay me based on what I bring to the table. And so this is something that I am working on and have been very mindful of, knowing the value that I bring and the influence and the value, the influence that I bring, and being okay with how other people view me and not letting that make me feel uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right. So at this point, we're getting close to the end. It's time for my favorite part, the Pimp Your Brilliance Action Challenge. And so this is for the listeners, the people who have listened to this episode and they're like, yes, all of that Siobhan said, yes, I want that. She's going to share with us 3 ways that you can gain clarity around what you want.
Okay. So, and it's going to tie into what I shared earlier. Number 1 is to ask yourself very specific questions about what you want for your life. So if you were to think about where you're at today, a year from now, what do you want your life to look like? What makes you come alive? What type of relationships do you want? How much money do you want to make, right? Where do you want to be in your life? And get very specific and to put that in writing. Number 2, I would say, is once you answer those questions and you do that reflection and you put it in writing, then you make it visible. So it's something that you can see all the time and you know what you're working towards. And then the last piece, and this is where I feel like people drop the ball at a lot, is that they don't take action, right? And so they're afraid to take those steps. And so I think it's very important that, number 1, you don't put a lot on your plate, but that you take action. And all it has to be is like little small steps every single day. So for example, if you want to write a book, right? Okay, write your outline, start to share a little bit on social media, and every day just do something towards writing that book. And then, you know, one day you'll have one just like yourself. I feel like I'm all about promoting you here.
Oh, you know what? Listen, this is a good time to mention the Fear Guide. If you have not gotten a copy, you need to get a copy because it's been, like Siobhan said, like changing lives and that transformative thing. I think of anything that I've written in the last, 9 years since I started working online, that is probably like the most impactful thing that I have written because it's what I believe in. It's what I champion for, and it's what I tell people when I meet them in person and they tell me their ideas and their goals, and I'm just like, do it. But so many of us are blocked by fear, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier in the episode. Like, it doesn't have to stop your life if you make a decision to go for something. Like, you can come back and just do something else, change courses if it doesn't work out. But too often we just get caught up in this, well, that didn't work, and we feel like failure is a stop sign instead of failure just being like maybe a detour. And maybe this detour, you're going to learn something important on the way, and that'll help you when you get back on the right path. So thefearguide.com, if you haven't gotten a copy, there's a free digital download, so you really don't have an excuse. You can get a physical copy. It costs $5. You can get a digital copy for free. It's there, thefearguide.com. So to recap your 3 ways, you said the first thing is to ask specific questions about what you want from your life. I already forgot the second way.
The second one, and I actually tied it in together, but putting it in writing.
Putting it in writing.
Yes. Then making it visible so
and
that it's
making it
something that you
visible.
see it all the time. And then lastly, taking action
And
and
taking
taking those
action.
small steps. Yep.
Yes, and that's doing the work. That's holding yourself accountable, and that's just taking tiny steps. And this is my thing. Like, it's my soapbox, and I could just yell at people for days and days and days about it. Like, all of your actions don't have to be these huge, grand declarations of effort and triumph and struggle and sacrifice. Like, taking action, some days it just might be sending one email, and that's all you got, but you did it. Some days it may be something harder, like you need to sit down and plan a webinar, or you need to sit down and try to knock out 1,000 words. But every day is not like that. Like, you don't have to, your action doesn't require like a certain level for it to count as action. It all counts, even when it's a teeny tiny step. And I feel like if I could get more people to understand that and lock that in their brains and commit to doing that, like, we wouldn't have so many people who were feeling stuck and so many ideas locked in your beautiful, brilliant brains. They would be out into the world for all of us to benefit from.
Yes, yes, yes. All of that.
All right. So, Siobhan, what are your degrees in?
Oh, yes. So I have a bachelor's in business information systems, and then I have a master's in marketing and communications.
I thought you had something in library science. Did I make that up?
Girl, so I went to school to be, because one of my friends said, "Oh, you should be a librarian." I'm like, because I love books, right? And so I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I signed up to, oh my goodness, my children were younger, and so I signed up for this online program, and I did not even finish the full quarter, because those online classes can be harder than sitting in class, because they feel like you just have all the time in the world. And I ended up withdrawing, and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, why did I sign up to become a librarian just because I love to read? And that was a big mistake in my life, listening to other people in that way.
Oh, gosh. Well,
So
now,
that's where you got that from.
yes, I was saying, well, now I feel like that kind of like negates what I was going to say, because I was going to say, aha, Siobhan has a degree in library science, and she's the one person I know who like really utilizes her library, which is so funny to me.
And it's totally off. Oh man.
But you're a big reader. So what have you read recently that you would suggest, or what are you kind of into that you think other people would benefit from reading?
Ooh, so I have to share two books. One book that I tell everyone to read is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And basically, it's a really simple book, and it's all about the four agreements are to always do your best, be impeccable with your word, don't take things personal, and don't make assumptions. Now, it's very practical information. However, applying that day in and day out is a task. And it's a very small little book, but it's one of those books that you can reread over and over again and always get something new from it. So that's the first book that I recommend. And then right now I am reading Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And it's about clarifying your message so your customers will listen. And I am really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through because I want to kind of clean up my message a little bit, and making sure that it's clear in the way that I envision it is what I am putting out in the world. So it's really a really great marketing book for that.
Awesome. So I will definitely add those into the show notes. And if listeners want to get in contact with you, Siobhan, where can they find you online?
I am everywhere at BeFree Project, so Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then my website is BeFreeProject.com. And as you mentioned earlier, I do have a podcast called Girl Be Free. And every week is pep talks and me inspiring you to show up for yourself.
All right, you guys. So check her out. Like I said, she's my accountability partner. She's one of my business besties and like my girl boo. So this was so fun having you on.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.